All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. There's still some people who are signing on, but hopefully they'll be able to catch up once we get into the demo here. So the webinar today is Actionable Insights in Google Analytics. My name is Steve Jerkin. I'll be the presenter today. I'm the Director of Interactive Solutions for Marquette Group, focusing primarily on our digital product development and the campaigns that we have up and running. Just real briefly here, Marquette Group is a directional marketing agency. We're headquartered in Central Illinois with offices throughout the United States. Our focus is really on connecting local buyers with national multi-location brands. So really location-based lead generation. I've been doing it. This is actually our 50th year that we've been an agency helping brands with this service that we have here. We have a great relationship with many of the publishers from our history, and of course have a great client service. But that's not why we're here today. So we're going to try to get right into the meat of the presentation and make sure we have enough time to get through everything. The tools that we use for our services, we quantify or we try to segment them into 4 sections plus a 5th underlying section. Local, which is really organic listings management, making sure that people can find you when they're looking. Social, which is a focus primarily on the multi-location brand challenge of being on social networks and interacting with a community. Then mobile, obviously for location-based services and companies and brands that have multiple locations. Mobile is an emerging channel. And then search, of course, is the biggest at this point with paid search, organic search, local search portals like Internet Yellow Pages sites and Yelp and other emerging channels. So as we get started here, I see that there are some questions coming through. And so I will do my best to answer questions as we're going through the presentation, but just use the webinar control panel and send anything over that you have. If there's anything that I can't get to during the presentation, then I will make sure to get to them at the end. We'll have some time at the end for answering any remaining questions. So the agenda today is obviously focused and centered around Google Analytics. We're going to be hopping into the live version of Google Analytics and walking through. This is not intended to be a true introduction to Google Analytics or any analytics software for that matter. So we're not going to be going over in detail a lot of the basics. We're kind of assuming that the 101 level of knowledge has already gone and has already taken place, but this is going to be how we can expand almost at 102 or 103 level class and look at some of the simple ways that you can find information in your analytics software that provides answers to some of the common questions that we hear from our clients. Then we're going to go into a new feature called the Solutions Gallery. We'll see that in just a minute. Spend a little bit of time just talking about some of the ground rules of using analytics as we look at the basic features, and then spend really the majority of the time today looking at the way that we can find performance insights from the different reports and segments that they have available to us. So we're just going to hop right into a web browser here and show you Google Analytics. So Google Analytics is a software that is obviously tracking activity that's happening on your website or any websites that you have. This is the dashboard for MarquetteGroup.com. That's obviously our main domain that we have as our website. We have a couple other domains as well, but this is just strictly MarquetteGroup.com. It tracks really everything that you could possibly need to know about visitors that are coming to your website. And it also has a lot of advanced features as far as campaign tracking, tagging different advertisements that you have out. We're not going to address those today, but Google Analytics is a particular software. So there are other brands of software that you can use to perform this web analytics function. Web Trends, Omniture, those are other examples that that you could use, and you don't need to be doing one of them over another. So Google Analytics doesn't need to be there if you have other software in place. But the main reason we're going with Google Analytics for the demo today is that it's very, very common because it's free, and obviously it's what we have installed on our website, so it's easy for us to do the demo. So the second item on the agenda was the Solutions Gallery. This is something that was introduced by Google very recently. It was actually about a week or so, a little more than a week before we sent out the invitation for this webinar. And it, without having a tremendous amount of time to digest everything that's in here, the good news is the Solutions Gallery is designed for people who are all the way from a novice analytics user all the way through an advanced user to be able to quickly implement some common views or very useful custom reports that if you didn't have this resource, you'd have to build them manually in Google Analytics. So we'll show you some examples of them as time goes on, but essentially what the Solutions Gallery is for are these dashboards created by Google and by other contributors that allow you to customize it. One of the business objectives here that we can look at is the social sharing report. So it's really just as simple as clicking on download, and then Google will go through and put this information into your profile as a custom report. I've already gone ahead and done that, so we don't need to do it here, but I just wanted to make sure that even though we're going to be talking about building our own custom reports and our custom views, that we made sure to talk about the Solutions Gallery, because as we're looking at some of the features here, it's a great resource to starting to get more in depth and understand more of the capabilities of using analytics software to get insights about your brand's marketing. So going into the ground rules, sort of the real basics of using analytics, the first item that we have is using the time ranges. So by default, it's going to always take starting yesterday for the first full day of data and go back a month. So this is something that you can easily change if you want to see what was my performance in January specifically, January proper, as opposed to just the last 30 days. Obviously very easy to manipulate and choose certain date ranges depending on what your needs are. But a oftentimes underutilized feature is comparing either to the last month or to the last year, depending on what length of time that you have analytics data for. In our case, we can't, with this account, we can't go back a full year, but we can compare it to the previous month and look at how has traffic differed based off of whether we have different marketing campaigns that are underway. Maybe we have a little bit more aggressive of a marketing push in January than we had in December, and we would hope to see those results in some of the analytics statistics that we'll see. So that's time ranges. Obviously, it is the only limitation really is how much data that you have in the system. If you try to push the data before you had data coming in, it'll just show zeros. The next sort of main category or main feature for Google Analytics is this Advanced Segments button here. So by default, you can see that I'm going to just apply this here to get rid of the orange lines. You can see that we have new visits, and this is really all visits that are taking place. This is everything in terms of traffic that is coming to our site. But the common thread with almost all of the analytics reports is that you can filter out and show only certain types of traffic to perform different analysis. So we're going to use this a couple times today. And on varying reports where it's particularly useful. But right off the bat, looking at only new visitors versus returning visitors allows you to get a handle of what are our marketing efforts having in terms of new client potential. There's a lot of return traffic that happens, people that know your brand, that are already familiar with you. This would be people who have not had a recent visit to your site. So there's a lot of segments. We'll get into more detail on that. But overall, we're not going to get into some of the installation and things like that. Again, that's the 101 type stuff. On the left-hand side here, we have two different sections. We have My Stuff, and then we have standard reports along the bottom. So the My Stuff starts with the dashboard, and that's what we're looking at here right now. This is one of the default dashboards that Google has available. Again, in that solutions gallery that we showed, there was the in the solutions gallery, there are a lot of custom dashboards that we have available that you can install if you want a particular. You can also create custom dashboards if you want to drag in certain reports. You know, a great thing about these is that you can just come in and visit, you know, every Monday or check it whenever you need to, and see at a glance all of what the most important information is to you. Then we have a new feature called Shortcuts, which is just basically adding links to your favorite reports. And then there's this really interesting feature called Intelligence Events, and it's going to notify you whenever something occurs on your site that's out of the ordinary. These are all automatic alerts, so these are things that are already pre-programmed into analytics, but we can add custom things. And I find that to be particularly useful when you have conversion goals set up. So we have number 7 here for the automatic alerts. We have one of our goals of visiting the resources page. On January 22nd of 2013, we had a 500% increase in the goal achievements that we had for that particular goal. Most likely that's a result of a campaign that we had sent out, or an email, or something that had been directing people towards that resources tab. So it's a great way to understand the impact that your efforts are having. Then last, in terms of sort of the core features of Google Analytics, is this real-time functionality. So at any point in time, you can click on this and see how many people are active on your website and what pages they're on. As far as you can see here right now, everybody's on the home page. But we can also see what keywords people are using for bigger brands that have maybe, you know, a B2C type brand instead of us as a B2B type brand. This is particularly useful if you're running a promotion. So if you have a time-sensitive promotion where you have a coupon, or you have, you know, a Valentine's Day sale, and you want to be able to see, is this working today as opposed to having to wait until tomorrow to see the data, the real-time information is sometimes particularly useful. So those are sort of the ground rules for how you can use Google Analytics just at a high level. Now these 4 sections at the bottom here, starting with audience, are some of the standard reports that you can use, and we're really going to spend a lot of our time here today. The first section here is called audience, and this is really information about the people about the visitors who are ending up on your site. This is one of the most commonly viewed reports, obviously, because it sums up everything of the most important statistics. So how many visitors are coming, how many of them are unique, how many page views are they generating, so really the most critical, important parts. But however, in the audience section, there's some other interesting things that don't get as much attention. The first one is the mobile overview tab. Now the mobile overview is, and I had a segment on here, so I'm refreshing this. The mobile overview, I'm going to tell you how many people that were on your site had a mobile device, including a tablet, or did not have a mobile device. Again, this is depending on how much activity you have that's location-based. Our clients have a tremendous amount of mobile activity, people looking at phone numbers, people looking up maps and driving directions. It's really good to keep an eye on this trend of what kind of traffic is coming from mobile devices, especially as you're trying to allocate resources to building out features on the mobile version of your website. So a simple thing to do is to look at it month over month and to see how those percentages change for mobile browser usage going up or down. So in December, we had 162 visits coming from mobile devices, including tablets. In January, we had 204. So that trend overall for us is going up, and we'll go and view some other mobile statistics to help us decide what we should be doing with that information in terms of adjusting our strategy. Then also under the audience tab is we'll go here to this mobile one. If you have an interest and you're trying to optimize for particular devices, you do have the ability to see which devices are generating traffic. You can also look at things as far as what operating system are they using, so you can roll up the Apple devices into one bucket. Again, plenty of information, but not necessarily something that you can make a lot of concrete decisions off of. The next major component for the visitor flow is called visitor flow. Sorry, and this is really a snapshot of how people enter the site, move through the site, and what their common traffic patterns are. Now you can go into a tremendous amount of detail on this, but even at its highest level, even at its default level, it can give you that navigation path that users are typically using when they get to your site. You know, which pages are having success, which pages maybe not having as much success as far as driving people to a next page. You can see here that we have some velocity pages. That's part of Marquette Group. That's our client login portal, and some of that traffic gets captured here as well. So we'll see velocity a couple times, and I'll actually show you how you can filter those kinds of things out later in the webinar. But when you're looking at the visitor flow, we have those segments available to us that we looked at originally. One particularly useful version of the visitor flow is using it to look at just mobile traffic. You know, when you're trying to understand, I've got an existing mobile website right now, and I want to know what's working, what's not working, maybe pages that I need to improve, or what are the most commonly used features on my mobile site. You can see here by filtering and putting a segment of mobile traffic only, you can see the numbers change dramatically as far as which sites and which pages people are viewing. So I can see here, right here, as far as an insight, that when people are on mobile devices and they come to our site, they end up on the careers page, and 30 out of the 34 of them exit our site at that point. So 4 of them go on to other different pages, and it looks like all of them go to who we are and about us. So that's something that we can turn into an optimization strategy in terms of the user experience. What this would suggest to us is that we want to go to that careers page on a mobile device, look at the content there, look to see if we have the right calls to action and the right future links. Maybe people are looking and expecting something to be there that we don't currently have there right now. So a great opportunity to look, especially on the mobile side, but you do have the ability to filter as well for things just like organic search, paid search, or new versus returning visitors, and filter out and view just that information as to where they're going. So the next page or the next report that we're going to look at is the traffic sources tab, and drill into a little bit of detail here. So traffic sources as a whole is taking all of the different methods and manners that people arrive at your main domain and encapsulating them in one report. So the 4 highest level different ways that they can get to your site are search, referral, and direct. And then campaigns, depending on if you've set any of your advertising campaigns up to use that feature. Direct is people who are going into the browser bar and typing in specifically your domain. That's pretty common knowledge at this point. But referrals are a way that people are linking to your site from other sites. So you can see here we're getting a lot of traffic to our site from our velocity login page, that people are navigating from their client login and going back to the main website. So we can also look though and see, you know, which other sites, which non-Marquette group sites are driving traffic to our site. One thing that we can do on this report when we're looking at referrals, especially if you have multiple domains for your brand or if you have a client login like we have, is the ability to filter out certain terms that that we know we don't want to see because we know it's not new customer activity. So we can opt to filter out anything that has the word velocity in it, and that'll change our results and change the percentages. You know, and it also does things like affects the bounce rate. So if people who get to marquettegroup.com from our login page all bounce, you know, that's affecting the overall performance of the site. And so it's good to filter some of those things out so that we're not artificially helping or hurting ourselves in terms of making decisions on what we need to be doing to improve our website. The next report that we're going to look at here is the search report. This one in particular for looking at the sum of your performance on a search results page. There's a tremendous amount of information here. In terms of SEO specifically, you can see here we have the ability just at a glance to see how much traffic from search pages is coming from organic clicks versus paid campaigns that we're running. But we also have the ability to drill down into the organic section and look just at keywords that are generating traffic to our page that are from organic clicks specifically. Now here we see that, and this is very common for brands to use this metric of, you know, we had 683 new visitors to our site that came from organic search, and so we're going to use that as a measure of success for our SEO campaign, and we're going to track that over time to see if we're having results. You can see here if we compare it month over month, we'll see are we having positive improvements in terms of organic traffic for new visitors, or is it a negative? For us, it happens to be positive for this month. But what we really want to look at is not just all the keywords that are generating traffic. I'm going to take off this segment filter here of new visitors. We want to look at how does our non-branded traffic look. If we go in here and we say, you know, we've got our number 2 result here is people typing in the search term Marquette Group, which is very, very common for people to be finding your website using your brand name. We don't want to have this be our measure of success, though, for the SEO efforts that we have in place. We want to be looking at what non-branded traffic is driving clicks to our website, and what keywords are having success, and which keywords need a little bit more attention. So we can put on a filter by clicking over here under Advanced, and we're going to do, again, we're going to do Exclude, and anything that contains the word Marquette. That will take out a lot of the traffic. We can also, as you can see here, the number 2 result is still MQ Group, which is some of our internal domains that we have. It's what our website was formerly known as. So we're going to add that in as well, and we're going to exclude that term also from this filter, or from this report. And so that'll give us an idea of which keywords are driving traffic, assuming that I do it right and change it to exclude. That'll give us an idea of which keywords are driving traffic to our site that do not have our brand term anywhere in them. Now you'll notice here this number 1 result is not provided. Google has a policy that they enacted, I'd say probably a year ago, maybe a little bit more or less, of when people are logged into their Google accounts, that they don't share some of that fine-grained detail in analytics, and all of that gets rolled up in not provided. So that's just the world that we live in, is not having visibility into those keywords, but there are ways for us to look at that not provided set of traffic and see if it's performing well or not. But unfortunately, that is there's no way around that at the time. But you can see here we've got 95 keywords down here in the corner that drove traffic that didn't contain our brand name. And one thing that you can use this report for, in terms of an insight of what you need to change or what you need to optimize, is looking for keywords that maybe shouldn't be driving traffic to your site. like Bleco HQ location, somehow somebody searched for that and arrived at our site using that keyword, that's something that we have no interest in receiving traffic for. So we can either figure out where on our site the keywords are that would give Google the indication that we want that traffic, but we can also look at our paid search campaign and add that as a negative in particular campaigns where that might be driving traffic as well. So even though this is an organic search report, and we're looking specifically at clicks and activity that's happening from organic, we can use it to make adjustments and optimizations on our paid search campaigns as well. The next report that we're going to look at here is under the Search Engine Optimization tab. Now this, last I had checked, and I wish I could be certain on it, is part of having the Webmaster Tools enabled on your site as well. But it gives you some more insight as to what keywords people are using to get to your site. But it goes beyond that by also having what keywords you're getting impressions for. So you can see here that we have some keywords like yellow pages that we're getting some impressions for, we're not getting any clicks for. It's also giving us average position and click-through rate. Now, if there are terms that are on this report that we do want to be getting a better click-through rate for, or that we do want to have more a higher position, we can use some of this information to focus our SEO efforts based off of what Google thinks and is trying to get us to display for. The other thing that you can do with this report is look at, for anything that has a low click-through rate, for example, Dwayne Anderson, who is our COO, we can look at, for his pages, what is the title tag and the description tag, because that's what shows up in the Google search results page. We may want to adjust what that content is to have it be a little bit more descriptive so that when that search result shows up, we get a little bit better click-through rate in terms of the action that people take. So the next report is looking at, still relatively new for Google Analytics, is their social reports. You can see here that they can tell you how much traffic is coming from different social networks that you have, and this is really just a different view of that referral tab that we looked at up here on the sources. So it's filtering out the social networks specifically. With Google Plus, because of the impact that it has on the search results, it's called Google Search Plus Your World, where they have personal results based off of activity in Google Plus. There's actually a whole host of additional information specific to Google Plus activity in Webmaster Tools. We're just not going to go into that specifically today. But the social report is a great summary, especially if you have active social campaigns that are going on here today. And it'll also link this to your conversions and goals that you've set up in your analytics, which we'll go into a little bit more detail when we get down here to the bottom of the conversions tab. The last section of this is still in traffic sources. The last section that we're going to look at is AdWords under advertising. Now this is a connection that's established between your actual AdWords account and your analytics account. So by making that connection, it's something that your agency can help with. It's something that we have, as many of our clients, we have this enabled with. But it will actually pull in the campaign structure of your paid search campaign and allow you to view post-click activity on your website using that main campaign structure. So we have 4 different campaigns that we have set up in our Google AdWords paid search campaign. And so we can look through and we can see, which ones are more successful than others, which ones are generating a lot of page views once they get onto our site, which ones are spending the most time, and which ones are problematic in terms of bounce rate. And we can look at, do we have the right ad copy? Do we have the right keywords to start to optimize that? So it'll also then pull in all the way down from campaigns all the way down to keywords that you have. Very detailed information if you also have a paid search campaign up and running. And this information is also really, really helpful for whatever agency is managing that paid search campaign in terms of optimization. The last part of the advertising that we're going to go into here, just in the interest of time, is looking at the day parts. This is showing you peaks and valleys of when people are interacting with your ads that you have as part of your AdWords campaign. Very, very, very interesting, and certainly very actionable based off of the information that you can find here. Without having this connection set up between analytics and AdWords, you don't have this information available for the AdWords optimization. So it's really important to coordinate with whoever is running that campaign to make sure that this is set up. In the interest of time, we're going to go down here to the content section, which is the third of 4 sections that we're going to be looking at here today. The content overview starts to break down the performance of your website as it relates to specific pages. Not just looking at how many pages per visit, how many new versus returning visitors, but it'll give you the top pages that you have here. As we look at the full report of, you can see here all pages under site content. As we look at the full report, this will tell us what the most popular pages are on our site. And here we run into another instance where one of our most popular pages is linked to velocity. So we're going to go and throw a filter on this report and exclude anything that has the term velocity in it, so that that's not polluting our bounce rate or some of our other performance measures that we're using here. So with velocity now out of this, we can see what are the actual most popular pages. We can see careers, about us, leadership, and then look at the true bounce rate of and exit percentage of these pages, either as a summary or individually. So you can see those numbers change based off of excluding velocity. So it's common to look at some of your high-profile pages, whether you look at your top 25 or top 50, depending on how many pages on your website, and go through this bounce rate statistic and look for things that are abnormally high or abnormally low. And then use that information, like 77% here on our page, What We Do Local. That 78% almost is something that we may want to go back and alter the content of that page, because compared to our average of 52% bounce rate, people aren't finding what they expect to find when they get to that page. So we can drill into one of these pages here. We'll pick one of the most popular pages here, the Who We Are About Us page, and then along the top here, there's some additional tabs that we can view. The one of them is when you're trying to diagnose a particular page that is troublesome or has a high bounce rate, or you're just not getting the type of activity that you want, you can go to this navigation summary. And what this is showing you is how people arrive to that page as well as how people exit from that page. And when they go from another page on your site to this page, which are the pages that they're coming from. So for this particular page, 13.3% of the visitors are arriving on our website as a landing page for this particular single page. But 86.7% of them are arriving from a different page, the most popular of which is our home page, signified by just this slash here. And then from this page, we've got 33% of them that are exiting and going back to a search results page, or going to a different website, or closing their browser. So you can use this for any page that you have on your website to figure out, is there a particular workflow that is causing trouble, that it's not converting. And then when we go back and look at the segments here, we can look at just new or returning visitors and see for a particular page which ones are turning into better bounce rate or worse bounce rate. But we can also look at visits with conversions. Again, we're going to go into how you set up your conversions and how you track conversions in just a second here. But when you look at what we have established as successful visits using that conversion feature, we can identify what is the workflow that, what is that navigation summary of where people are coming from and where people are going that has turned into a successful site visit. So when you have particular pages on your site, such as a contact us form or a subscribe or sign up for a newsletter, or even lead generation forms, those are great places to throw into this navigation summary and really understand how people are using that page. As far as the actual how people are using that page, Google has a feature called in-page up here as well. And they will pull up the page that's in question. In this case, we're still looking at who we are about us. And they'll tell you which links people are clicking on once they're on that page. So you can use that sort of as a heat map to identify where people are taking action. If you have, the use case for this would be if you have a link that is particularly important to you that you want people to be doing and it's not generating traffic, this would be how you could tell whether or not we need to move it. Is there a particular area that is really popular that people are clicking on? And just using it to help optimize that user experience on that page. The next report we're going to look at in terms of content is called Exit Pages. I'm going to turn off this segment here of visits with conversions. And we can actually throw on a filter of, for this one we're going to do just new visitors. So people who have not had a recent visit to our site. So we look at exit pages. Again, we're going to filter out, for us, we're going to filter out velocity. Just reinforcing again that if you have a client portal or something that is behind a login screen, you want to make sure that you're always filtering that information out of your reports before you're looking at them and making decisions. So right now we've got a filter of taking velocity pages out and looking at just new visits specifically. And we're going to look at which pages are having people exit from. So again, we might see something on this report that is particularly disappointing. You can look at the percent of exit, and this is of the visits that go to that page, how many of them are exiting from that page. And we look for anomalies here too. So we see what we do /mobile, number 7, has 68.8% of exit. That's something that we're going to want to look at and make sure that we have the right content there and make sure that we have the right strategy in place for that particular page to try to bring this down closer to the average of 43.5. The next section here, there's a tremendous amount of other information here that you can use. Google takes site speed very, very seriously, so always, if you have anything that is lead generation based, site speed is one of the first things that you should look at in terms of SEO optimization. I actually recommend installing some sort of additional monitoring that will give you automatic notifications in case your site load speed changes dramatically. There's a good amount of tools. We have some partners that we work with that will always be monitoring and checking your site to make sure that from no matter where in the country or in the world people are navigating from, it's keeping up and there are no errors or no problems. But as we go on here to the conversion step, this is really how you can start to tie together all the report information that we had looked at before. We have just our overall conversions and being able to see and determine, taking into consideration all of the mobile, all of the different segments that we have, all the referral paths and navigation, which visits should we consider successful? Regardless of whether or not they reached our site using a branded term or a non-branded term, if they either reach certain pages or they perform certain tasks on our page, we want to consider those as a success. So the goal setup page is actually outside of analytics, and it's really easy to do. You should make sure that you go through this with whomever is helping you manage your SEO or your SEM. But again, going into the admin, goals are something that you set up in advance. And we have a couple of different goals that we have. The first one is a group of goals that we've put together as far as visiting certain pages. So if people go to our Connect page, our resources page, or our downloads page, we actually have this one flagged as inactive. We consider that a successful visit. And then a second set of goals here as far as time that's spent on the site. Just like when you have phone calls that you're trying to determine which ones are successful, we have a benchmark that if somebody spends 2 minutes or 5 minutes on our site looking at information and searching for resources, things like that, we consider that a success. So those goals are set up in advance, and then you can use those goals and those conversions across any of the reports that we had looked at before, and we had done that a couple of times already. When we look specifically at the goals themselves, you can see here and view them all together, or you can filter just on one particular goal. So this is the first goal that we had set up of visiting our Connect page. You can also set this up so that it is set to be a thank you page for subscribing, or a thank you for your purchase if you're doing anything with e-commerce. That goal, then, you can drill into a lot of really interesting details. You can look at the reverse path. So of the people who ended up on that goal completion page that we've set up, where are they coming from? What, if you sum up all of these individuals, how are we getting people into that page? That then turns into a funnel when you summarize all of that data, and you can see the most popular methods that people end up at that Connect page overall. Then going back to some of the other reports that we had before, we can look at how are goals being generated from certain other reports. So we can go back to that mobile overview tab and look at how this mobile breakdown changes when we do a visit that had a conversion based off of those goals that we had set up. So looking only at visits that had conversions, we can see that our mobile traffic didn't generate quite as many conversions as our desktop traffic. And then we can do the same thing by going back to the goal conversions report and looking at this goal 1 of people visiting our Connect page, and turn on a segment here of strictly mobile traffic. So how did this perform? How many did we have? How many conversions did we have just from mobile devices? And you can see that overall we want to put some attention into having that Connect page be a little bit more accessible or a little bit easier to find from mobile, because the percentage of conversions that are happening on mobile devices is not keeping up with the percentage of traffic that we're having. So we may want to look at adjusting what our conversion goals are on mobile. Another really important view of this is, as we talked about with being able to filter and look at that paid search traffic, and look at those side by side and make the determination of, is our paid search performance working, or are we bidding? Do we need to be bidding on different keywords? You can view multiple segments at the same time, like I have set up here: paid search traffic and non-paid search traffic, and use this to look at any of your goals in particular to understand where those conversions are coming from, and start to make decisions on how to optimize. The last thing that we're going to look at is a relatively new, in the term of Google Analytics, called the Multichannel Funnel report. And this will look at the different traffic sources that you have and determine how many are coming from multiple traffic sources. So you've got a fair amount of conversions that happen without having any assist from another conversion source. So right now we're looking at a overlapping Venn diagram of the direct and organic search and referrals for the conversions that we had just talked about here previously. And right now we're looking at all conversions. We can filter and look at just one conversion in particular if we wanted to, but we're looking at all of them right now. So we can see that 2.75% of the conversions that we had throughout that history, that short-term history, did a direct search or a direct navigation by typing in our URL. They also did an organic search at some point in their conversion history. And they also had a referral link, whether it's from a social network or from a directory site or any other website that linked them into our site. So this just allows you to give the proper credit to certain to certain channels, you may have, for example, with paid search, you may have people who are doing paid search clicks and then are doing an organic search click and then converting. In our case, we've got a relatively low percentage, but it's just another way to understand that people may not convert on their first visit to the site. They may go home from work and get on their home web browser and open up their laptop and decide to just type in the web address directly instead of doing another organic search. So we want to make sure that when you're making decisions about allocating resources and budget to either SEO or to SEM, we've taken into consideration some of these multi-channel visits that we should be attributing success to as well. Once again, a lot of detailed information here in the multi-channel funnels that you can use to have insights on how to optimize your campaigns. So that is we're about the 45-minute mark right now, and I'm going to go ahead and throw up my contact information here on the screen so that anybody can go ahead and reach out to me if they have any particular questions that you were maybe too shy to ask in front of everybody else. But I'm going to go ahead and start answering questions with the time that we have. We've got about 12 minutes left. So we've got a question here. What is a better metric to use, new visits or unique visits? That is a great question. It depends on what you're looking for. They're slightly different. They're very similar as you'd expect, but slightly different. The unique visits is really just sort of deduping the traffic to your site. It's obviously taking into consideration people who have come to your site for multiple visits. So it's really just a measure of how many people, how many real human people went to your site, as opposed to visit sessions where it might be the same computer, the same person who's going to your site multiple times. When you're looking at just overall traffic, trying to get a handle on month over month or year over year, are we getting more people to our website based on our marketing efforts or less people? That's what you would use something like unique visits for. New visits would be for looking at some of your campaigns in particular, whether it's a paid search campaign or if you have a desktop display or mobile display campaign that's driving traffic to your website. You would use the new visits metric to understand, am I marketing to people who are already customers, people who are already frequent visitors of my site, or am I marketing and pulling people into my brand who may not be actively engaged right now? I've got another question here. We have a dealer locator that goes by zip code or city and state. Will I be able to use this to track hits to each zip code or the city-state specific hits? That's a great question. That's actually a very common question that we have across our client base. Based off of the way that Google Analytics works, you essentially need to be navigating to a new URL to track any activity that's happening. So some people have store locators that are framed into their site that are powered by somebody else, and it's hosted and powered by a different company or just on a different server, even that you may own. When things are framed in and you perform that search and the URL never changes and the overall page as a whole never changes, more often than not, Google is not going to have that tracking ability. But what you can do is install Google Analytics on the platform that is hosting your store locator, because most likely there are page views that are happening within that framed in locator, and you can get insight into that. But it really does depend on how that is built and how that is integrated into your website. I can say that having it built and having that data available to you is incredibly useful information to understand where people are searching from. Google Analytics really doesn't go lower than the country level as far as where people are searching from or where you're getting the activity from. So being able to have insight into that dealer locator traffic can give you a lot of information. If you plot it out on a map, it'll show you where you're having a lot of success, where you're not having success. If you don't have access to that, if that's something that's just not possible, Google has a trend report that you can use to get some indication of where traffic is happening. And I'm going to show you that here, Dave, real quickly. So by searching for your brand name, Google will show you sort of trends over time and national search habits. So this is, if you don't have access to that store locator information, then you can see trend over time. But you can also, well, in our particular case, we don't have access to it. Let's do something that definitely has a lot of search activity. Facebook, people search for it. It's the #1 most searched term. We can look at this 2004 to present, but we can also just look at the past 12 months and see how their traffic is. We can also look and dial in on just the United States specifically and see which states are generating more or less traffic. So by putting in your brand name, depending on the amount of traffic and the amount of information Google has about that search term, you can get some sort of a heat map index of different areas of the country that are having more people searching for your term than others. And then even down to the sub-state level as well, you can see in Texas how many people, where is the highest concentration, not surprising, in the San Antonio and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And Dave, thank you. It's an internal program hosted on your server, so we should be able to get analytics installed on that in some capacity. The only other question that we have right now is being able to send out a copy of the presentation. This is something that we're going to be turning into a video and hosting it on our blog, and also publishing out to people who are on the webinar. So for current clients, your account manager will make sure to follow up and provide you a copy of the presentation. Because it was a live demo and not a typical PowerPoint presentation, it'll be a link to a video of this meeting here. So that'll be coming through soon. But that's all that we have for today in terms of actionable insights for Google Analytics. I hope that everybody found it useful. And again, if there's any particular questions about your website or finding particular information in your analytics, I'd be happy to have those discussions. And you can reach me at the contact information on your screen. I'll hang out here for a couple more minutes in case there are any additional questions that come through. But thanks to everyone for joining, and have a great day.